Hotties, today on the show, I'm very excited. I'm bringing you somebody who is incredibly niche in that area and who knows an awful lot about a topic that I think that we're all really, really excited about, which is marketing to millionaires. Now, one of the biggest questions that I get asked as a sales coach is, where can I find high ticket clients? And so I wanted to bring on Kelly O'Neill, who specializes in helping people market to millionaires, so that you guys could understand just how important it is to look at your own positioning, to look at how you're getting specific in terms of what you offer, and how actually it's that's going to help you find those high ticket clients. And not even find, like when we say the word find about high ticket clients, mini Jess rant coming, so bear with. But when we say the word find around trying to engage high ticket clients, it really frustrates me, because the reality is that these people are not around. They're not people who want to spend money on their business or invest in their health or whatever it is that they're looking to do. They are not necessarily walking around with a sign on their forehead being like, yay, I'm rich, sell to me. And equally, I think sometimes we can get like super judgy very, very quickly. And we're like, oh, well, that person, they don't have any money, or they won't have any money to pay me X. But actually, a lot of the time, it does also come down to what people value. So, if they actually value your service, then they will find the money in some instances. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen with every single person. For some people, I can't afford it is I can't afford it. But it is a small percentage of people. And we've talked about it on the podcast before. So I want everybody, if you are sat here and you're thinking, it's Q4 and I want to be selling more high ticket stuff, start reframing, where can I find high ticket clients? And actually start thinking, how can I be the most valuable expert in my field so that people want to pay me more, right? And just reframe it like that and see how you get on. Now, obviously, if you are interested in signing higher ticket deals, that was a very corporate sales thing to say, wasn't it? Deals. If you're interested in signing more premium clients or higher ticket contracts, then you may want to consider coming to the Converting Corporates event and adding a corporate revenue stream to your business. It's one of those areas that, again, it positions you as an expert. It gives you the ability to pitch to household brand name organizations. And ultimately, that can add an awful lot of revenue to your bottom line, both through working with corporates themselves and also with what that positioning does for you across the rest of the market. So if you are interested in coming along, at the point of recording this, we do still have tickets left. So if you are thinking, yes, I want to learn how to pitch to corporate companies, I want to learn how to sign higher ticket contracts, I want to get in front of real life hiring managers and find out why they hire external suppliers, and so I can make better pitches, create better proposals, sell easily to corporate organizations, then make sure you head over to the link in the show notes and see if we still have tickets. Now, I'm hoping that we will, because I'm obviously saying this on the episode. So how about even if we only have like 2 tickets left, I'll leave this bit in, and if not, I will record a different intro. That's going to be the plan. Even if there are just 2 tickets left, I will make sure that this intro goes out, and if not, then I'll do another one. I know I'm going to be saying this, and Scott, our lovely, lovely podcast bay producer, is going to be like, what do you mean you're going to be changing it last minute on me? Anyway, without further ado, I'm really, really excited to share with you the conversation that I got to have with Kelly, all about marketing to millionaires, what it really takes to market to affluent individuals, what the real important pieces of your positioning actually are, and what matters when it comes to trying to sell high level, super premium products and services to clients who are super wealthy, or even, as Kelly mentions, not so wealthy, right? It's a really, really interesting episode, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed recording it. Hotties, how exciting is this? Now, obviously, I raved in the intro, but you know, I can always rave a little bit more, especially when it's about someone epic. So I'm really excited to welcome the fabulous Kelly O'Neill to the show today. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here. I just love chatting with you.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's like a catch up and an episode in one.
It is. It is.
I'm really excited about this. So one of the things that I love about you is that you are very tell it how it is. You know, there's no kind of fluff when it comes to content from Kelly O'Neill.
No, I often say I am not Willy Wonka, so I do not sugarcoat anything.
I love that. You should get that on a t-shirt.
I know I should, right?
Yeah, that would be awesome. You could sell a lot of them.
I know I probably could, right?
New revenue stream. So here's the thing, you know, you obviously operate in a really specific niche in the market, and you have come up with some incredible offerings, including one of the things that I know that people really rave about, Marketing to Millionaires Intensive. And you're really at that end of the market that specializes in selling high-end premium services to really high-end clients. Like, how did you get to that point? How did you identify that as being your ideal client and where you fit in the market?
You know, so that's such a great question. So, you know, previous to being in this whole field, right? Previous to starting my own business, I actually worked in corporate America, and I cut my teeth really young. I've always been really driven. I'm not a shocker to anybody. I've always been really driven, and so I actually started working in a brand marketing agency when I was 19 years old. My dad's friend had an agency. He said, "I actually think you would be an amazing PR person. Come, like, let me help you launch your career." And so I was always ahead of the track of everyone else. Now, I got into PR. I had the best training in the world. I got to work with some of the leading brand agencies around the world. I got to work with top-notch companies like Intuit, Epson, all sorts of companies. And what I really learned to specialize in is positioning, right? And so I would be called, you know, even later on in my career when I started consulting, I would be called in to help position clientele to either build their business valuation, to get acquired, or to go public. And when I retired from PR after a really successful client, and I decided to start my own business, and I got in there, one of the things that happened was, you know, it was so long ago, Jess. I mean, I was one of the first kind of business coaches in the United States, and initially, there were not a lot of business coaches, so people didn't, you know, there wasn't a lot of choice. But as you know, like the market is just flooded with coaches and consultants now, and I knew that I needed to differentiate because I was losing my market position. So there's that, right? So around 2007, 2008, I started to go, I need to reposition, right? Because otherwise I'm going to get lost in the saturation of the market. Mm-hmm. At the same time, over here in the United States, we were having an epic market crash. It was about to come. And I was like, oh gosh, I need to get ahead of this, right? Because I knew that if I didn't, that my business was going to go down with the crash. So I kind of was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, you know, what is the one thing that I can do? And this is a great question for all of you listeners out there. What is the thing that I can do that when I do it will make the most paramount difference in the lives of my clients that only I can do?
Oh, I like that.
And when I started to think about that, you know, if I back up the story, I was actually raised very affluent. My dad was a successful business owner. He had a successful real estate venture in very affluent areas in California. And so I grew up in a very affluent life. Now, before anyone pulls out the world's smallest violin for me, my dad was also very much like, this is my money, not yours. Like, I earned this, not you. So if you want it, you're going to work for it, right? And so there was in fact, there was like anti-spoiling. There was actually like deprivation, like you got to go earn it yourself. So when I started to look around and I realized, like, part of what I was teaching my clients all along was like, why are you guys marketing to people who can't afford your services? Like, that is just poor business. Don't do it. Why are you doing that? And I realized that this is what I was teaching all along. And it kind of just really came to me in this flood of inspiration because, I kind of asked for it. I was like, what's the thing? And I was just open to receiving the information. And all of a sudden it came to me like, oh my God, I could teach people to market to affluent clients because I get that market. I get those people. I understand their thinking patterns. I understand how they buy. And in business, I had already been subjected to so many people that did not understand how to market to those types of buyers. Like they'd be, they just buy differently. So they didn't know how to market. They didn't know how to serve. They didn't understand how to deal with the client's needs and how to really serve them in a way that was going to be effective. And I had always been very, very good at that. Because I got it, because I was raised that way. Mm-hmm. So that is how I got into the creation and, being a branding person. I was like, got it. I'm going to teach people to market to millionaires. And so it took off.
That's really interesting. So I love all of what you said there about getting really specific in terms of what your biggest skill was and what you could do. I love that piece. But I also want to pick up on that point so that we don't miss it around people who are affluent, like they buy differently.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, because one of the biggest questions that I hear all the time is, where can I find high ticket clients? Now, obviously, affluent people are not out there wearing a sign on their forehead that says, I earn millions and millions of dollars. Please sell me things.
Right.
So how do they buy? Like, what are the differences that you feel between a millionaire buying and somebody who, is just starting out perhaps in their business?
Sure, absolutely. And so when I say millionaires, I also want to clarify for the audience, because that can intimidate some people. Affluent buyers, the mindset, we know psychologically the mindset starts to shift when they start to reach about $100,000 US. Right. And in some parts of the country, and again, I can only speak over here to US, but in some parts of the country, they're starting to shift at like about $75,000 US. That's when they start to get like, that's when their mindset around the way that they purchase starts to change. Mm-hmm. And here's the biggest difference. So much of what selling, so much of what people are taught around selling, not you, but other people, so much of what is taught around selling is, just give them more. Like you got to create like immense value, which I agree, you do. But value is different to what an affluent person values is different than what a price conscious consumer values. Think about it, price conscious consumers, they're looking for the biggest deal. Right? Mm-hmm. They're not that interested in quality is not going to be as important as can they save a buck. They're looking for, something that has the biggest bang for the buck. Like, over here, I think a lot about like the value meals at like fast food restaurants. Mm-hmm. It's like, for $1, you can basically get like 800 calories of artery clogging goodness. Right? So it's like, but God knows what you're eating. You could be eating a horse. You don't know, right? Like it's not good, right? It's not going to be good.
We have had that situation where some fast food companies did actually end up selling horse a few years ago.
Yes, well, there you go, right? So it's you don't know, right? They're not very their loyalty is to the next best deal. Mm-hmm. Affluent clients are not looking for that. They want speed, mm-hmm. They want results, and they want the most results in the less time. Yeah. So as an example, I was helping one of my clients who is setting up a very high-end offering to go after affluent clientele. And, she said, well, does this basically mean I'm going to be on call 24/7 for them? And I said, well, first of all, no, because if that's not the way you want to set up your business, no. I said, in fact, with affluent clientele, they're looking like, how can I get the best result in the shortest amount of time? So they don't want like in fact, actually, if it takes like 100 meetings to get them to the result, they're going to be annoyed, right? They don't want that. They would rather pay more money to get something done faster and more efficiently than the other way around. They're also looking for convenience. Their biggest issue and their biggest lack, right? Whereas with price conscious consumers, their biggest lack is funds, is discretionary funds. That's not the case with an affluent buyer. With an affluent buyer, their biggest lack is time.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Because I think, and you're right, this is exactly what I teach about selling. Ultimately, if you're selling, you should always be selling the quickest and easiest route to the solution, because that's ultimately what people pay more for. But what's even more interesting here is that when we're talking about marketing to these affluent clients, what you're saying is that needs to be incredibly obvious from whenever they come into contact with you, right? So even with content that you're creating that's free, it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be explaining like how you are going to be the person that's going to help them get XYZ transformation in that quickest time.
And even in that, the way that affluent clients, the way that they digest content is different. They're like quick. Like you have to really think about it. They are not sitting around with loads of time on their hands. So, even the way, one of the companies I own is a branding agency. And guess what? We specialize in helping people set up brands that market to affluent clients. And in those brands, like the way that we do a brand site for a high affluent is so different. It is so different. Like we are not making them jump through funnels. We're like, call us. We'll take care of you right now, because how does an affluent person buy, right? I mean, and think about this for yourself. When you figure out that you want something, you just want to pick up the phone and get it, right?
Well, yeah, and this is why Amazon Prime has done so well over the last however many years. People are used to instant gratification.
Yes.
And so, if you have money to put behind that, then obviously it's natural that you do want everything a lot quicker.
Absolutely. And like, I don't want to wait. If I think that you're the person to solve my problem, I don't want to wait 4 weeks to get on a phone call with you. I'm not waiting that long, right? I'm going to find someone else. Make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And it's really interesting because I guess my question would be, at what point does that shift where, because what we also have at that level when we're selling is we have those people who are super, super exclusive to work with. We have certain like really high level photographers and things like that.
Yes.
You just cannot get booked with them unless, a royal recommends you. So at what point
That's great.
wildly affluent become ready to wait for you? Like, how would you make yourself exclusive?
Yes. So that is all in the positioning. And so one of the things that we do is we do have that exclusivity, and it depends on the type of business and how you position it. As an example, in my business, I've got two different, in my consulting business, because I have basically two different companies. I have three different companies. I have a consulting company, I have a training company, and I have a brand company. And in my consulting company, people do have to jump through a little bit of loops, because I only take 8 high-level consulting clients a year. That's it. And they do have to be by application, or they do have to be by recommendation in order to do that. Like, I don't just let those people fly on my calendar. And part of that actually builds the anticipation, because sometimes an affluent person, they have two different buying modes, right? It's like, are they buying to get something done, or are they buying because they want the experience? So if you just want to get pictures taken, you just want to go with a really good photographer. If you want the world-class experience of being photographed by, Annie Leibovitz, you're going to wait, right? But the reason that we've been taught as a society to wait for her is because of her brand and her positioning. So that is something you have to work up to.
See, I love that. I think that's so interesting, because I think it's one of those, the interesting point you made that is that you have to work up to it. Like, this isn't something that just happens overnight.
No.
And that's, regardless of your positioning, right? You can only get to that level of exclusivity once you're there.
Yes. Once you have the track record, once you have the breakthrough. I mean, it's basic economics, right? Supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right? She's in extraordinary high demand. And to be able to photograph with her is such an exquisite, it's kind of like getting invited to lunch with the royals, right? It's like, that like someone will wait for that. There's those very exclusive things, but also, you're hiring clients, like the more exclusive, once you've got the mix of the strong brand positioning, the social proof, and the supply and demand mix, you're good to go. And you can start charging that way.
I love that. So let's dig into this positioning piece, because, everything is coming back to the magic of being able to position yourself as the, like the unmissable expert, the
Yes.
person that is the must have. And I think that sometimes people worry, don't they? If you position yourself there, sometimes people can feel like, oh, well, they're just the shiny new object, or I'm going to be a flash in the pan. So what can we be doing when it comes to positioning and thinking long term, building up that positioning, hitting the ground running with that gives us that kind of ability to enter the market really, really strongly, but also
Yes.
longer term piece that
Yes.
is sustainable.
So first of all, I want to let your audience, like, positioning is it is so critical, especially now. Long gone are the days that you can just fly out and open a business online and go to a couple networking events and stand out from the crowd. You design your position. When I was in college, I read a book called Positioning: The Battle for Your Mind, which is it is like the old school Bible of positioning. And it literally was a game changer. It actually formed my entire career, because that is, let me just also give you a hint. Marketing to millionaires is all about positioning, right? That's why it works so well.
Yeah.
So in that positioning, I call it like the big P positioning, and then there's little P positioning. So big P positioning is all about, how you're going to go in and make yourself a category of one. So if you think about things like, when someone says tissues, what brand do you think?
Kleenex.
Of course, right? Or if someone says cola, what do you think?
Coke.
Yeah, it's like one of two, right? And that is what we are going for in our businesses, is that when someone says marketing to millionaires, I promise you, people are saying, go talk to Kelly O'Neill. That didn't happen by accident. That didn't happen by accident. That happened by strategically choosing a position, and your positioning really, it is not a flash in the pan. Your ultimate core company or brand positioning should last you for 5 to 10 years. Now, you can have different products come in with, those are the little P positioning, and those can be more of like a seasonal thing, but your ultimate positioning, again, I go back to that question, what is the thing that you can do, or the service that you can provide, that when you provide it, it will be a game changer for your clients, and you are the only one that can provide it in the way that you can provide it.
Well, it's also interesting when we're talking, and when I'm listening to you talk, I love, one of the things I really love about you is how confident you are, and you've obviously earned that over time, but I think it's amazing, to hear a woman really, really confidently say, I'm so good at this, I am the kind of one in my space. And, when that comes down to positioning, being that one, for me, it's interesting because, one of the things that I teach in sales is get as niche as possible, like be really specific, one problem, one solution. But often people can find that a real struggle because, everyone's saying, oh, I don't want to just sell this, or I just don't want to pigeonhole myself. But would you say, in terms of specifically like marketing to millionaires, is this something that actually helps your positioning and helps you become more credible more quickly?
1,000%. In fact, actually doing it the opposite way destroys your credibility and expertise. So let me give you an example for you guys because I do come across this all the time. I have clients that are like, well, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. And it really is coming from a place of fear. Like, if I don't offer enough things, then I'm losing out on some of the buyers in some of the markets, right? That comes from a lack mentality, right? Which is not going to serve them ultimately in business. Think about it this way. who do you think makes more money and is in more demand? A general like family practice doctor or a neurosurgeon?
I'm always using this example and I love it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Great
Exactly.
minds, sister. Great minds.
I love it. I do it slightly differently. I'm always like, look, do you want the person who is the eye doctor, the leg doctor, the heart doctor to perform major surgery on you? Or do you want the specialist in that area? You know, you want the person who excels, not the person who's like, I can probably give that a go.
Right. Now, and think about it this way. If we even niche that down even more, which is what I want my clients to do, it's not even just the neurosurgeon. It is the neonatal neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
Now that person, yes, they probably have a ton fewer cases, but they're also so in demand that people are flying in to see them because they're the expert in that.
Yeah.
That is what you want to do. So the more that you can specialize and niche, and also, by the way, you mentioned my confidence. Part of my confidence comes from the fact that I have specialized so much. I know my lane. I know what I am the best at. I also know what I'm not so amazing at. I know what I can get by to. This is why, as an example, in our Profit-ology Business Incubator, we bring in other experts because I am not the expert in everything.
I hear you. And it's so interesting because I think people also get quite afraid by that. You know, you've mentioned bringing in experts into Profit-ology Incubator. I bring in experts into programs like cash creation to help with areas like mindset that are not my thing at all. And it gives a much more valuable experience. But people worry so much because they're like, oh my God, if I bring somebody else in, it says that I can't do it. Or what if they steal all my clients? Or, you know, and do you think there's something around that mentality, the kind of openness and let's just bring in experts, let's genuinely collaborate, is something that's more commonly found in people who are able to sell high ticket because they recognize that it's a value add as opposed to going to be something that takes something away?
I think it has to do with the mindset that you're choosing to adopt in how you choose to run your business. And I will also say that when you are not afraid, when you're not in a place of lack and scarcity, let me share my mindset and see if this is helpful. There's so much business out there. I couldn't possibly serve everyone that needs my help. I just couldn't possibly do it and remain upright. There are other people who are better at things than me. There are things I am better at than other people. I just feel like there's way more than enough to go around. And also, my objective in my business is not to hoard business. My objective is to serve my clients and to create programs and service offerings that highly serve them to get results. And if that means bringing in other experts, they are thrilled by that. They love that. And they look at me and they're like, my God, you've created this amazing program. And then guess what they do? They refer other people to our program.
I love that. And I think that's so powerful because ultimately it's not about trying to keep everybody in at the same level all the time. It's recognizing that people shift and grow, and as they shift and grow, that ultimately, you know, you are able to gain from the experience you've given them. You know, that you're able to gain from referrals and things like that. That's powerful.
Yes.
I love it. That's so exciting. So talk to us a bit more, because I know you've got some really, really exciting things coming up. And I know that people are now going to be sat here thinking, I want to market to millionaires, obviously. So where can people get more Kelly in their lives?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yes, so there's a couple different places. I have a podcast, so you can go to the Profit-ology Podcast on iTunes and subscribe. And make sure you listen to my episode with the lovely Jess, because it was a fantastic episode. So I've got a podcast. And then also I run an absolutely free group on Facebook. It is called the Profit-ology Circle. And it is based in all of the philosophies that I am teaching today. And what we do is we've got mastermind in there. We share resources. Every Thursday, I go live with a training. So as an example, this last Thursday, when this was recorded, I did a training on Is Your Business Affluent Attractive? You can get all the archives when you jump into the group. And then every about 4 to 6 weeks, we do an intensive, and we do what's called the Marketing to Millionaires Intensive. And literally, you guys, I go through my system for how to find affluent clients, how to market to them, how to create an offer that is going to be right in the ballpark, that is going to get them to say yes because it is so serving to them. I do give a few sales tips, and not to the level of what Jess does. In fact, Jess is our sales expert in our Profit-ology Business Incubator. But I do give some sales tips on selling to the affluent clients. And then also we talk about your mindset to make sure that your mindset is in alignment with really being just magnetizing to those affluent clients. And it's absolutely free. So when you jump in the circle, you can look for it on Facebook or go to profitpreneurcircle.com or check your show notes. You can jump on in, make sure you answer the 3 questions, and start enjoying.
I love it. I love it. And like Kelly just mentioned, I am the sales expert inside the Profit-ology Incubator, and it's a very, very cool place to be. I'm very privileged to be there and be able to help her in a circle as well. It's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today. And seriously, you've shared a hugely generous amount of information today. It's going to be epic.
Truly my pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Guys, if you have enjoyed today's episode, please make sure that you head over onto social media and let us know what your key takeaways and aha moments are from today. And obviously, if you want to go and find more Kelly, which you absolutely 100% should do, make sure that you go and join her free group. Make sure that you go and grab some of her awesome trainings around marketing to millionaires, and give her a wave and let her know I came from the Smart Leaders Sell podcast, because it's always really, really good to know that you guys are showing up for yourselves around the internet and where you are making your way to. I hope you've had an excellent time listening to this conversation. It's been fab to record it. Massive, massive thanks to Kelly, and I will see you guys in the next episode.